Welcome back to Blanks No One Asked For, and in today's episode, a few Americans are going to react to, once again, the Magic Geekdom's Americans in England, 10 Things That Surprised Us About the UK. So if you're unfamiliar with us, we are actually going to the UK very, very soon if we're not already there. So I have to stick around and catch those vlog videos. Also, like the video and subscribe to our channel as it really helps us out. Without further ado, let's do it.
When we took our first trip to the UK, we were surprised, sometimes even shocked, by quite a few aspects of our experience as Americans in the UK for the very first time. Today we're going to talk about 10 of those surprises, and how over time we've truly come to appreciate most of them about our neighbors across the pond. And I'm going to start with not needing a car, because that was something that we were very surprised by. I felt like we did quite a bit of research in preparing for our first trip to the UK.
Yeah.
And when we planned it, I don't know, we're so American, I just assumed you needed a car. And that's not the case. You can get around so much easier with public transportation in the UK than you can in the US. If you were planning a trip to the UK, you may not want to have a car because you have to drive on the opposite side of the road that you're used to, potentially. Here we go.
I'm so thankful that none of us plan on sitting in the driver's seat of a car when we go over there, because I would hate it for anyone that, I mean, just imagine looking at this road here.
Yeah, but you got to think you're driving, like we drive on the left side of the car on the right side of the road.
No.
It would just be the opposite. You drive on the right side, the left side of the road on the right side of the car.
I guess, yeah.
There is something scary about
Just looking at that is
driving
scary.
where you're not used to driving.
Just backwards.
You know? It's got to be weird. And
Also,
I wonder what percentage of people in America have a car versus what percentage of people.
I would just like to experience UK road rage. Like, get off the road!
I'm also curious, I think I've heard somewhere before, maybe this is UK to US, but like would our
Yes, I think
driver's
it works both
license
ways.
convert?
I think you have a year. So like, if you're visiting, it's
for
good.
both ways, I think.
Yes, but if like say you move, you have up to a year to
Interesting.
get that switched over.
You doing it?
I am!
You're good.
It's weird, but it's wow. And the roads are very narrow and can be kind of scary and
that is-
intimidating. You don't need a car, and we learned that the second trip. We didn't rent a car
Oh my
at all, and it
goodness.
was lovely to travel
Do
by
you
train
need horse and
everywhere.
I think
carriage?
the aspect of having the car the
Do
first
you
trip
have
was
one?
nice, but also you don't really need it. Like you said, the train system is just really good there. It's so much better than America. Granted, it's much smaller to cover that area, but trains go to most major cities, and then even smaller cities have a decent bus line, it seems like, too.
Yeah.
Besides being more walkable than a lot of our cities are.
Yeah, there are very few places where I felt having a car was preferable to not having a car. It is kind of funny to look back on that first time that we went and just how, without even thinking about it, I just booked us a car because I was like, well, we're gonna take a road trip. That's what you do, right? I should also mention that these are by no means in order of importance, although number one, I did reserve for the immediate shock that I experienced.
I love the stick to the end ordeal right there. That's good stuff. Like, although the one that I reserved for number one, you have to see.
From the moment that we stepped into Heathrow Airport, I feel like it was the first thing that I noticed. I don't know, it still blows my mind. So we'll continue on. Number 9. I mean, we kind of already discussed this, but
That's going to be my most shocking thing, is how London Heathrow Airport compares to every other airport I've ever been to.
Yeah. So apparently it used to be the largest airport in the world at one point in
That
time.
sounds terrifying.
So
I don't know anything about airports because I've never flown. So there's nothing like me flying 8 hours from Raleigh to wherever we're flying into. I don't know. Can't wait for that. There's my sarcasm.
At least we have a 7-foot British person that we're meeting at the airport. It will not be hard to find him.
yeah. Unless everyone else there is also
7 foot.
very tall.
The narrow roads, I mean, we've talked about it a lot. It can be very intimidating to drive on roads that are, you know, hundreds if not thousands of years old compared to
Yeah, so apparently,
drive on roads.
in one of our previous reaction videos, a road that I called a one-way street was in fact a two-way street. It just was extremely narrow, like this one.
We're not used to that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so up in the mountains, there are some roads that
Up
are
in the
similar
mountains.
to this. I
I
ain't gonna
wouldn't
say
say
they're
they were that
exactly
narrow,
that
yeah.
wide,
yeah.
but they are kind of sketchy, kind of like this one resembles to me.
One wrong movement and you're in somebody else's driver's seat.
Yeah, there's inches between side view mirrors on these things, I believe.
Roads that are, you know, hundreds if not thousands of years old.
Well, that's a good point. You know, and I did read the comments like I do for every video. You rest assured.
So proud of you.
UK cars are smaller than their American counterparts. So that, I mean, I don't find that super surprising, but I just don't think that I'm like, oh, yeah, you know, car's a car.
Yeah, don't take a Hummer.
Yeah.
Try to drive it on one of these.
Old compared to our big wide roads in America. But I think one of the things that surprised us even more from the experience, because I think you kind of know that going into it, but I was very surprised at how difficult parking can be.
Yeah, there's not very much free parking at all. Pretty much anywhere you go, you're going to have to go to a pay lot to park your car.
At least doing touristic things like we have done, and I think maybe that speaks to our experience traveling, is
Yeah,
that
that's fair.
we were going to places that are popular destinations to travel to, and so yeah, car parks are difficult. The spaces can be very narrow because they're trying to pack as many cars as they can
Wow.
Yeah, there's no wiggle room.
Day in, day out.
into these small little car parks. It can be very intimidating to not only try to find parking, but to, you know, not have to pay at least £1 or $2 everywhere you go, which it's not the worst thing. You just have to prepare for it, which we
Could pay
were
one for
not.
fish.
There's a lot more free parking in the US.
There is, and I would say if you are going and renting a car or you have a car there, get change. Get like pound coins, because a lot of them that even took credit cards didn't work very well.
That's true. We would go to a car park in a pretty remote area, and it would be like 7 people standing around holding their phone up trying to get a signal so that they could pay for parking. So you can't avoid that if you have
Actual cash.
change. Yeah.
Number 8 would be that I think American travelers and just kind of international travelers in general do seem to mostly just go to London and call that good.
Which we are not doing.
We're not doing
I will
that.
say that
We're not
again.
gonna do that.
We're not doing that. Listen to the words that are coming out of one of the 4 people at this table's mouths. Mark, tell them.
We are not doing that.
Maybe we should do it in harmony.
We're not. Well, I thought
Doing
I thought you were
that.
gonna say we are, not we're. And you're weird. We're not doing that.
We are not at
Oh,
all
yeah.
doing that.
Tell them, Mark.
When there's so much more to see there. I mean, we love London, but also some of our favorite places are smaller cities and towns and villages there.
Yeah, I would say to layer on what you're saying, one of the things that surprises me
We're not doing that.
about our travels throughout the UK is that we have a lot of people, even within the UK,
Yeah.
who tell us that we've been to places that they've never been. And maybe part of that is because as Americans, things feel so close to us when we're there. Things seem so easily to accomplish, to just stop in these different places. I think that kind of surprised me that more people in the UK don't even travel kind of beyond certain areas. Like, I think a lot of people accomplish the big things.
So that brings up a good question. Do you not travel because of car? Because if there's public transport that's very accessible, which by all accounts I've heard is very easy to use, and there's public transportation wherever you'd like to go, why do not more people in the UK travel to different places? Because we've had the same thing of we've tried things that people from the UK haven't. We have things that people would like to see that they haven't seen. I guess for us, I mean, we've kind of traveled to the immediate, like inside North Carolina, I've gone to the mountains, I've gone to the beach, I've gone to bigger cities.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
But there's a lot of places that you guys have let us know that you've never been to, and I'm surprised because there are some amazing places in the UK, and they're mostly outside of London. Not that London isn't great, but if you are planning a trip to the UK, as someone who's never been to the UK, do yourself a favor and go at least one other place outside of London.
Go to York, go to Cornwall, go to Newcastle. Like,
Yeah.
all great
Fun
places.
times.
Yeah, it can be pretty expensive to make a trip to London or to make a trip to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
When you can have your money goes so much further in somewhere else that isn't as touristic, but still lovely. There are a lot of great places outside of London. So number 7. Yeah. Okay, so here is one that I don't know that we've talked about a lot before, but it is an incredible thing, and I was so surprised to learn about it, especially as Americans. It feels kind of like a weird thing to be able to walk on people's private land, and that is footpaths. British footpaths are an extensive network of these footpaths throughout Britain that basically allow you to walk on private land and just take in all the different kinds of scenery that the
Jedi ain't flying here. Don't walk on somebody's private land here. Especially down here, you're probably liable to get shot. Without warning.
different lands offer. One of my favorite memories of exploring the UK.
I say that to say that is cool that you're doing that in the UK, not as like a...
Yes, we do not approve of shooting people because they stepped on your property.
Not at all.
Especially when I think about memories that we've shared with our friends, is I treasure the fact that we got to walk through a footpath in Dorset with our friends Jason and Josh.
We're going there.
Yeah, we're just in the middle of this like field of a cow.
Get off
Zach
my
wants to
team.
pet him.
Do you want to milk it? Because you could probably do that
I've
too.
never done that.
And that
so-
cow
Never
doesn't
milked
have
a cow?
RBST.
Do I look like somebody who's milked a cow?
Ah, well, as much as you like to touch animals.
Yeah.
Just so neat. There are so many footpaths like that. I know when we were in Robin Hood's Bay, that is the end of, I think it's called the Coast to Coast.
Whoa.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Wow.
When we were in
That
Robin
is
Hood's Bay,
awfully close.
that is the end of.
What? No.
Is that like a... Is that a dock? How would it be considered a dock?
It's like a landing, like where you
Yeah,
put your
That's what I'm
boat
saying,
in.
like a
Yeah.
dock, yeah.
Yeah.
It just seems like there's not a lot of like transition
Yeah, there
from
isn't.
the ocean to this.
Again, you couldn't get away with that in the U.S. because idiots would be doing stupid stuff over there.
Let's see how far I can drive my truck out there.
You can drive it out real far, actually. You probably just let go and it'll take you the rest of the way.
It's called the Coast to Coast
Yeah.
footpath that goes all the way to Cumbria, I think is
that's
where
right,
it
yeah.
connects. It's like 200 miles long or something around that. And I think it would be so fun to plan like a bucket list trip to do something like that. But at the same time, we are not super adventurous, so I'm a little intimidated by the idea of walking 200 miles on a
Yeah.
footpath. But maybe you have a suggestion for us for a footpath that we could start with. Maybe you know about some good footpaths that we should check out, because I'm all about them. The thing that is,
So
I,
is
I
that.
think, surprising about footpaths as Americans is that just doesn't seem like something that we would have here.
No, I feel like people are very more
No trespassing.
protective, I guess.
Yeah.
And I can see why. I mean, people can be disrespectful to people's land here, but I think it would be very cool if we had more footpath kind of things where we could walk through, I don't know, if you're in Utah or Arizona, like the desert. And there are like national parks and state parks that can offer that kind of thing, but it's just so cool that there's so many places you can just go and take a cool footpath in the UK.
Yeah, we have some that I would consider kind of similar. Like you can do the one that runs from like Mexico up to.
So is there a thing over there that says do not walk here? Like, do you know you're not welcome to walk on this path?
I mean, that's
there no
a good
trespassing
point. Like,
signs,
is no
or-
trespassing. Yeah, Mark. Is that a thing there? Or common, I guess you should say. I'm sure someone somewhere does it, but is it common as it would be here?
BC, I think you'd be hard pressed to convince Americans to make more of them.
Yeah.
But I am curious, what do you think about footpaths? Because I don't know. I imagine that they are probably.
That's a good point. We have, like, I don't know, 10 times the land that the UK has, but we don't have any footpaths. Like, I'm pretty sure people could, like, give up some land. But then again,
Yeah.
not even giving it up, just give access to it.
Just get access. Yeah, just
well loved by people who use them, but maybe farmers or things don't love it. Maybe their land does get disrespected or something. So you'll have to let us know what you think about footpaths, and also which ones we should do in the future.
Another thing is being treated like pretty nicely as Americans.
Americans traveling internationally is a precarious thing because it is known that we are not well liked in many
areas,
places.
yeah.
Like it's just known that people don't necessarily like Americans as a whole, and so I think it was surprising that I didn't have a single bad experience with anyone anytime.
Really?
And
I just would like to personally say I love each and every one of you and can't wait to visit your beautiful country.
yes.
Please don't behead me.
Likewise.
like the total of 7 months that we spent in the UK, I think we've just had nothing but really
positive
lovely
experiences,
experiences. This is one that I think is kind of silly, but it also, I mean, it makes sense, and that is hot and cold taps. Have you ever in your life come across a separate hot tap and a separate cold tap in the US? Because I can name like maybe 3 experiences total.
But it's really only a handful of places.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think going to the UK and having that be
So there's a separate hot faucet and a separate cold faucet? Some places you go? Is that a common thing? 'Cause I've never heard of that.
I never heard of that.
At all.
Y'all ain't seen that? Y'all never
Separate-
seen a hot tap and a cold tap?
Like separate taps.
Are we
For
talking
water.
Are we talking knobs or are we talking faucets?
Faucet.
They're talking different
I'm
faucets.
talking different faucets.
So you've got
Oh,
a
okay.
faucet here and a faucet here, and this one's hot and this one's cold.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
They're completely separate. What do you think they're just talking about knobs? Everything has
Just turn the knob. Just get hot on one side.
Like you just twist it to the side you want.
Yeah, but Josh, all right.
the standard experience almost. I mean, a
hope
lot
they
of
show a
newer
picture.
facilities won't do that, but there's so many places where
Wait a second. All right, hold on now.
All right, so who's the dumbass now?
I'm not calling you.
Hey,
I know what you're saying.
The way they were
I had
explaining
no idea.
the way they were explaining it, it sounded like
This
it
is
was
crazy. Like, of course this is common here. What are they talking about?
Yeah, I guess they're talking about the style that I'm talking about. Like you got the center knob and you just turn it to whichever side you want it.
Yeah, I feel like this is
This is
pretty
regular.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
this
regular.
is standard.
Like even in a bathroom, you have like a push on the left for hot and a push on the right for cold.
and it's like, well, what do I do? Do I like quickly run my hands back and forth and try to go between the 2 taps? Or do I just use
Are
the
they
hot
saying
one?
2 taps?
Okay.
All right, so I think their picture's misleading here.
I need
all right?
clarification. Are we
They have
talking
1 tap with 2 nozzles.
2 faucets?
2 faucets,
One for hot,
1 for cold.
one for cold,
Or
and
2
you got
or
a
2
knob,
knobs, 1 faucet.
a knob for hot, a knob for cold.
346 minutes later.
These people are confusing me.
Yep, I'm confused.
Too hot before I'm done washing my hands. Yeah, it's a very interesting experience as an American that we're not quite used to. And I do get it makes sense that there are so many. There's a lot of older plumbing. We experienced, I guess that's another surprise, with showers and things like that.
Wow.
Hello.
Thank
That's
God
tight.
I'm on a diet.
Is that Stanford?
I'm gonna have to suck it in.
Something on Mark is not getting washed.
You're not even gonna be able to touch your toes in that.
No.
You go in the shower and touch your toes?
I do wash my feet.
I mean, yeah, but you're like doing calisthenics in the shower?
It just, differences.
Yeah.
Things that you're kind of used to in your day-to-day life, and you travel somewhere else and you're like, huh, that's a little different. And yeah, it was just kind of a surprise. One of those things that I'm sure if someone came here and was like, wow, there's so many taps that aren't hot and cold, I'd be like, I wouldn't think anything of it. But,
Yeah, that's fair.
just
Stop
those
before you
differences
confuse me
that
again.
kind of, like, this seems kind of inconvenient.
Another thing that was interesting and I guess kind of jarring and definitely different was the first time we went to get some food that wasn't like a quick serve restaurant, that we were finished what we ordered and we're just kind of waiting and waiting because the service is different there.
We talked about coming back to the US after spending 8 months in Europe in our reverse culture shocks video that we made. I think one of the things that really was a weird adjustment to come back to was just the level of service that you get at restaurants and bars and things like that in the US. And I think on the flip side, the first time that we went to the UK, it was alarmingly weird. It was like, is somebody gonna check on us? What's going on? Like, where is everyone? Where does our server go?
That sounds perfect to me. Give me my food and leave me alone.
And we did. We spent probably 30, 45 minutes just sitting there waiting for them to bring the bill because that's what they do.
Oh, wow. He is ready to go. That is the face of someone who's waited 30 or 45 minutes to pay for their bill.
US. We didn't want to be rude and flag someone down and ask for the bill, but then it turns out that that's what you do. That's the customary thing. And I think over time we've come to appreciate the level of service because it doesn't feel
wow, that is really red.
That is
red.
fake. It just feels natural. You don't feel rushed by having somebody bring you your bill before you're even done eating. But
see, I'm the opposite.
Like, bring me the bill.
Bring me the bill as soon as I get my food, and then I'll
dictate it on
down when I'm ready.
Yeah, you don't have to make an unnecessary trip all the way over here.
I said, bring me the bill.
When I need a refill on my water, bring me my bill so that way when I'm ready to go, my family can leave.
Yeah.
The first time that we went there, and it took a few times where we were like, gosh, this is just weird. And finally we said something to our friends and they were like, yeah, you gotta ask for the bill. And we didn't know that. We learned that the hard way a few times over.
Yeah, I don't even know that I call it level of service because it sounds like the equivalent is kind of lower level. It's just kind of more pleasant.
Yeah, and I think we've kind of touched on this before too, like talking about friendly Americans versus friendly people in the UK. And I think why I kind of prefer the friendliness of the UK is because when people are friendly, you know it's genuine. It's not out of a need to get a tip or out of, trying to be, I feel like just sometimes.
Hold up now. I think we've watched a video when they're being true. They're really not being true. They're being sarcastic. Is that not what I've seen in one of the last reaction videos we did?
I just think, like, sarcasm is a part of their language.
Well,
but
good.
Essentially, what she's saying is, like, waiters and waitresses over here.
They're not doing it because of a tip.
They may as well be actors because as soon as they walk away from their table, they got a completely different attitude and a completely different person.
I mean, as somebody in the food service industry, I have done that. I walked away from the table and
over here, because tips are not encouraged for wait staff, it's just what you see is what you get. Like they're not trying to go beat somebody.
Which, to be fair, if we paid our waitresses and waitresses more here, they would probably be a little bit more happy.
Americans are kind of fake, and it's not all the time. It's not everyone, but I feel like it just feels more natural in the UK. If someone's nice to you, they're just being nice to be nice, and I don't know, maybe that's a little more rare here in the US. Maybe not. I don't know.
It might change. Our pay structure and tipping culture is kind of changing here a little bit. People are getting paid a little better to do those kind of service jobs. So maybe that'll change in the long run, but right now they are pretty different.
Yeah. It was definitely surprisingly different level of service. And I know a lot of you have let us know when you've come to the US, it's been the same thing where you're like, why are you guys all up in my business? Please let me eat my meal in peace. And I think we've kind of become a little bit more leaning towards that direction.
Yeah.
But when we first went to the UK, it was not the case. It was like, what is happening? Where is our server? That was definitely a big surprise. I guess I would tack onto that just the length of time that you could spend in a restaurant too, or a pub. Like there's no rush to get you out.
Yeah.
You're just there to have a good time, and gosh, I appreciate that. Thank you for doing that, because sometimes in the US I do feel rushed and it makes me almost feel guilty, like, oh, I gotta hurry and eat and get out of here because this server needs to make their money. But it is just, yeah, it's one of those differences that I definitely appreciate the British culture of serving in restaurants and pub culture. a lot more than I did initially.
While we are talking about pop culture kind of and food and stuff like that, I would say that the UK portion sizes can be drastically different from the US portion sizes, and probably...
Alright, I know you say that, but then you plop a full English breakfast in front of me and it's big enough to feed a family of 4. So, which is it?
in a more healthy and just better way.
That's something we haven't, I guess, talked about as much. We've covered food a lot on this channel. There's a lot of differences in food that make me like the US version of food a little bit less. And portion sizes is, I think, one of them. On the one hand, I think when we first got there, it is a little bit surprising to see a regular portion of food and not have like this huge plate of food that you really don't need to eat. But I don't notice the difference as much now, but I do.
Like this plate of food that Taylor got at a Mexican restaurant one time.
Golly.
On the screen right now.
You still have a picture of that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Remember that it was pretty shocking at first.
And I feel like, there's exceptions to that. You can find a pretty large, like, fish and chips, something like that. But in general, yeah, they just seem like you guys have more reasonable portion sizes.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. That's a good point, because we went to Vancouver, BC, or not Vancouver, BC, Victoria, BC, and we ate fish and chips there, and we each ordered one because we were thinking they were going to be just like little fillets, like little tenders kind of thing, like we do typically in the US, and they were a lot larger than we were expecting. Not the huge.
Would y'all consider that large? I think that I could smash that.
Yeah,
that looked like a
no problem.
Eat that pretty well.
Not like a hefty piece of fish.
Portion of fish and chips in the UK, but they were definitely
Pretty large.
It was like, oh yeah, I don't know why we thought that these would be smaller than they were.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do have to make an honorable mention, just talking about, British food, pub food, and what?
Oh, I know where you're going.
He knows where I'm going.
Yeah.
Diet Coke in a glass bottle. I was so pleasantly surprised to learn that exists in the UK. You really can't find it in the US. I found it at a grocery store once.
But it tasted different, didn't it?
It tasted different. Yeah, it wasn't this.
So all your sodas in a glass bottle, or?
Nah,
I know you don't get refills. I know it's not like which I don't drink soda anyways, but is that how it's always served? That's interesting.
Which I enjoy my soda glass.
Oh,
I do too.
Glasses, Mark?
Top
Enjoy
tier
glasses soda? Or
is-
just regular Mark enjoy glasses?
Same. And, if you want Coke products in glass bottles in the US, you usually get Mexican Coke.
Yeah.
But they don't really make Diet Coke in a Mexican Coke form.
Or at least they don't send it up here.
Yeah.
They do.
So just to see Diet Coke in a glass bottle and be able to order it at a bar is just, God, I miss that about the UK. It makes me want to put.
You get a rum and Coke, you get a glass Diet Coke with it? I would think they would have a Coke machine.
I'm sure.
At a bar, like a tap. Right.
On a trip right now, so I can go back and get my Diet Coke in a glass bottle. Okay, honorable mention though. Not enough to be a huge thing on the list, but it is lovely. Okay, so number 2 is kind of a big one. I kind of encompassed a few things in it, and I said that the number 2 thing that surprised us was the efficiency of the UK. And what I mean by that is, just all these little things that make me as an American feel like we're kind of behind the rest of the world. For example, contactless pay.
I have heard this is very big in the UK. And this is probably predominantly how we will be utilizing monies when we're over there.
Swipe the blanks card.
Because I think the less that we have to carry on us, the better. And apparently the UK is light years ahead of the US when it comes to
I
universal.
heard they were using contactless payment like in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cash is no longer king over there. Is
cash
what I've
has
heard.
been king for a long time there, Chief.
Here, it's like places, you could still go to places now that don't have mobile pay.
I think that we're starting to roll that out more and more in the US. But even at a restaurant, the waiter will still take your card and go take it off.
Most of the time.
That's another thing. And I don't know how this is in the UK, but up until I'd say the last 3 years, the places have just now started putting things at your table where you can pay at your table without having to request the bill.
And now half the time they're not functioning.
Yeah, it's tantamount.
And bring it back to
You're
you.
seeing more of it now. That
Yeah,
they're not,
yeah. I don't know. That was such a pleasant surprise to go to a pub and have the card reader brought to your table, to use your card at the table. The card never leaves my hand. It's like, even when you go through a fast food drive-thru, a lot of times you hand it to them, and it's like, well, hopefully I see that again.
It wasn't until that thing that shut down the world in 2020 that most places, as somebody with a restaurant background, started using contactless payment. And even then they weren't set up. They were using the existing card machine that was hooked up to the register inside the restaurant to hand you out to sometimes swipe your card. It may work, it may not.
While they came out dressed like the people in Monsters Incorporated.
Yes.
Well, and I feel like when we did go do that at first, we tried to give our card to them, and they're like, "Why? No, I don't want to touch your card.
Yeah.
I'm not only responsible for that."
Makes sense. But yeah, that was one of the things I think is very surprising in a good way, in a way that I go, why don't we do that in the US? That's weird. That seems antiquated, and
It kind of is.
yeah.
So I'm glad that it's changing here, but it's still better there.
Yeah, the whole idea of efficiency is like, even from the moment that we got into the airport, we pretty quickly went through customs. Like
Yeah.
we got through border patrol and customs and everything very quickly, and I feel like the process the other direction is not as easy.
No.
And I just think as the US, it's like, why do we make things so chaotic and harder than they need to be? I'm sure that that's true in many ways of like, each country has their things they're better at and their things that are worse at, but
Yeah.
I just felt like there were so many things we experienced in the UK that just made me feel like it was more efficient, just like trains, and you just go, you get on your train, there's nothing to it. And I think that seems like anything like that in the US, we have to make things more complicated than they need to be, and I don't know,
Yep.
maybe that's just my impression.
I get where you're coming from.
I think I wrote down one more of that. Oh, queuing. That's another thing. As part of like the efficiency thing is, I think a lot of times in the US, we kind of just like flock, and
We do what?
Flock.
All right,
Oh.
so that's the thing.
Block.
So do you, people in the UK just, the kindergarten style, there's a person in line, you just start a queue and like, it's just,
It can be very awkward sometimes if you're trying to get in say a food truck line that just has people merging from all sides, and you're just kind of like looking out of the corner of your eye like, is that person going to step up before I do? Or
you
am I
gotta
gonna
like
assert
practice
myself?
patience.
Yeah, it's
you gotta insert dominance.
Yeah, honk the horn.
honk honk toot toot. You about to get the boot.
we just like flock to a
As a
line.
mob?
Yeah, as a mob. And even sometimes like going in a drive-through where like you're taking turns.
That's a prime example. You know as well as I do, going into a sporting event, a concert, it's just, everybody's just, there is no consideration. It's just people pushing towards the front.
The show starts at the same time, and you being two people behind me is not going to get you to see the show any quicker.
But people do that all
But they will
the
shove
time.
and
It's
push.
so stupid.
Like maybe two cars merge. Gosh, I should have put that one in. That's a whole other thing. But people are just nicer. Like, they take turns. Like, there's just more turn taking and more politeness of like the back and forth. It just feels more
Oh yeah, that definitely in Raleigh. That definitely does not happen.
Yeah.
efficient.
Yeah.
Rather than like 14 cars trying to drive the furthest that they can and cut everyone else off.
That's fair, yeah.
I just feel like that's such an American attitude. Not that it doesn't happen other places. Germany is known for being very efficient, and in so many ways, I think the people there are very efficient.
Today we learned that 1.8% of our viewers are from Germany, so hi.
And as soon as the boat opened, it was just like this mass of people just like in a clump, and it was almost chaotic. It was a popular, busy summer day tour kind of thing. So it kind of made sense, and maybe it was a bunch of tourists, but it was like, oh, this is not the queuing we are used to in the UK. I don't know that I've ever heard the UK being considered efficient, but I do think that there are a lot of things that are very efficient about the UK, especially from an American perspective.
if we learned something from our UK friends. Some of y'all love a queue.
I get it.
Not complaining, just saying.
The number one thing that I immediately was surprised by from the moment that we set foot into Heathrow Airport and basically throughout the rest of our travels, I just kept going, oh my gosh, was the bathrooms or the toilets, and how in the US we have the saddest stalls that you can see through. They're flimsy.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see somebody doing their business if you want to, and I don't think we experienced that a single time in the UK. Like, I don't even remember seeing that American style of stall in a bathroom.
Where's the video footage? I want to see.
I know. I want to see the difference.
Because I
see a
have
comparison.
seen videos previously that call out this very same point. That
Did it go all the way to the floor?
it's very private. Your stalls.
I don't think, and I'm sure somebody somewhere has, but I've never been like looked upon in a bathroom. I don't know.
I haven't either, but there's always that
But there is
awkward
exactly.
time when you're
Then you can see people
sitting
through.
there doing your business and you can see someone's
You
backside
had Taco
washing
Bell
their
for
hands.
lunch, and like you really got to go.
It's just it's a little uncomfortable. And then if you are a tall person,
Yeah.
hang on, wait. This is a whole nother thing. Why is it necessary in an American restroom at the urinal to have the privacy border stop just below the shoulders? Can we not take that up higher? Like, why do I need to be able to turn to my left and to my right and just have a conversation with
It's for
someone?
good viewing.
I don't
I don't get that either.
No.
Yeah, it's just, gosh, the little things that you take for granted. I mean, I was so surprised. Like, why are we doing this so wrong in the US? It seems like a simple enough fix, but I understand that it's probably a lot more expensive to construct full doors, solid bathroom area where you can have privacy. It's definitely.
You know who has the best private restrooms in the U.S. to my experience? Buc-ee's.
I can't recall a Buc-ee's
If you have
bathroom.
been to a Buc-ee's and you have not gone to the restroom, it is worth
Go to your nearest Buc-ee's
telling you.
and take a deuce right
I'm
now.
telling you. People brag, and Buc-ee's brags that they have the cleanest restrooms, period. And I went into a Buc-ee's bathroom for the very first time my last trip to Buc-ee's. Phenomenal.
I'm just going to say, speaking of levels of service, they pay their people very,
Yes,
very
they do.
handsomely. So
More cheap and efficient to throw up a
Weird
flimsy
divider
stall. Yeah, like a cardboard divider.
Well, they're
basically.
metal, but
I
yeah.
know. They don't feel a lot better than cardboard, though.
I
Yeah.
feel like the only thing I would equate that to, sort of, in the UK is like maybe a pub or bar's bathroom that has like a urinal, a toilet that has a urinal. Might only have like a small divider like in the US, but your regular toilet stalls are way, 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 way better.
They really, truly are. And I think just how flimsy we make them and how cheap and inexpensive they are kind of speaks to the American experience of like, just tear it down and build a new one because that'll be cheaper than preserving this historic building.
Well, and I feel like, what was it called? The walkie-talkie building that we went to on our first trip?
Oh, in London,
I don't know if you went into those toilets. I did.
Yeah,
That
they
was
were
super
nice.
fancy.
Yeah.
I felt like I was in a fancy hotel or something.
Yeah, they were like
Those
door
are
to
cool,
ceiling.
Jane.
Like you
Nice.
got your own private little bathroom.
Yeah.
And it
It
was
gives a
very
definition
nice.
to a courtesy
Yeah,
flush.
like those. I mean, there were a lot of experiences like that throughout Britain that America would never. But in all seriousness, we should.
Probably, yeah.
Thanks for listening to us ramble about our experiences in the UK. I think it's been good to reminisce in the videos that we've been making lately because we don't have a current trip planned, but it's been a good reminiscing to do. I'm curious if you have noticed anything, any of the items that we mentioned going the other direction, especially the toilets and the bathroom stalls. Like, have you noticed that when you've gone to the US? Have you been alarmingly surprised by how terrible our bathrooms are? Thank you for watching. thank you so much to our patrons for supporting our channel.
I can't wait to get to the UK and drop a deuce.
And there was a casino in Vegas that we went to. I can't remember the name of it now, but it did have the big privacy doors. Everything was blocked off. You could not see in, could not see out. And we did like that. They were very clean.
Also, the mob could whack you in the bathroom.
Yeah, so Magic Geekdom again with a very informative video. So thank you guys. I look forward to experiencing some of the things that you've notated as differences. And I don't know, I'm kind of excited about the bathroom trips now, all of a sudden.
Don't spend all your days in the bathroom.
Yeah.
How many bathrooms can we visit?
We got other stuff to do. Zach,
There's an app for
besides-
that.
Is there?
Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, it's been an informative video, and if you are still here, please be sure to like the video. If you've not yet subscribed, go ahead and click that button, and stay tuned for our upcoming UK vlogs that we will
From
be
the bathroom.
bringing back from us from the bathrooms. Yes, and all that leaves us to say is this has been Blanks No One Asked For, and certainly no one asked for this.
And if you've stayed here the whole time, drop a comment, hot, cold.
But wait, there's more. Still got that itch for more Blanks No One Asked For? Click that bottom left video down there to see the content that YouTube thinks would be the best for you.